Hello, 33 and Up Club. I have decided that I am mostly in an effort to just keep myself accountable. I'm going to be sharing what podcasts I'm listening to this week and hopefully every week or two. Maybe you need some recommendations. So, this week on the 33 and Up podcast digest, what I'm listening to. So, this one is great because you get an hour of continuing education units for nurses. It's on the NICU Heroes podcast, which is hosted by Hand to Hold. Dr. Mona Admin is the guest. She's also known as Peds Doc Talk on Instagram. The title of the episode, it's season 7, episode 48, Supporting the Caregiver, Burnout Mentorships, and Career Longevity. I loved her whole talk from A to Z. One thing she talked about that I really liked was this whole life instead of work-life balance. She acknowledges that the idea of work-life balance is a lie and something we've been sold and tried to buy, but it's not real. You can't really buy it anywhere, which I firmly agree with. And she is talking about creating roles, especially for women in medicine. I really appreciate her take on it and how, for a really long time, I think the feminism movement was trying to show how qualified women were, right? Our goal was to say, hey, anything that boy can do, I can do it better, or I can do it just as well. And I deserve to be paid on the dollar exactly what he's making. And I am worthy of this. And I am just as good as a man. And I think I'm not the first person to say this. This isn't an original thought. But I think somewhere along the way, we lost sight of the fact that we are women and we are different than men. And that's so scary to say out loud because I don't want acknowledging that to mean I am not eligible for certain opportunities. But we do have to grapple with the fact that women gestate the babies, and then even with a crazy supportive partner who is this magical unicorn that does everything, we still do most of the child rearing. And she talks about this. And so she talks about designing roles, specifically residencies for doctors that acknowledge that and make room for that and allow for it. Anyways, go listen to this one. It was great. I felt so validated, and I hope you love it when you check it out. The other one I listened to this week that I adored, specifically about the NICU. This was from Mary Farrelly. She has a whole podcast series called The NICU Translated. This was the season 1 finale. She talks about rehumanizing the NICU, and she acknowledges how much of a burden is placed on the healthcare system, where our job is to keep the patients physically alive and well, but how much of the burden is placed on us to care for them emotionally and how much emotional support you should be getting when you're a patient in the hospital because you are having a really bad day or one of the worst days in your life. You're hospitalized. 100% agree with everything she's saying, and she's advocating for someone else to step in and bridge that gap and what she calls rehumanizing the NICU. I loved everything she said. I can't wait to listen to more of what she said. And I'm so lucky. Oh, please, I hope this isn't a jinx. She is going to come on the podcast and we are going to talk, and I'm going to ask her all of my follow-up questions, which I have many. And you'll be hearing more about her in the future. I can't wait to see what else she does. And I am so honored and don't really believe it's going to happen. But she said she'd come on the podcast and we have an appointment. So I'm so excited. And then finally, this is something a little off topic, but I just really thought it was fun and hilarious. I haven't been a longtime follower of Call Her Daddy. That's the name of the podcast. But I found her recently because Sarah J. Maas did an interview with her, and then Hilary Duff did an interview with her. I just thought it was really fun when she interviewed them. And then I saw that she interviewed Kesha. And I was like, hold the phone. We got to go hear this. And while definitely off topic, they talk a lot about how trauma stays in the body, even if you're not actively processing it in your brain or conscious thought. It's there and it manifests in our body and it causes damage. And it's something I talked about with Yvonne in my first episode, how these experiences that were out of our control, that were so hard to deal with, that have lasting effects in our life, are sitting in spaces in our body. And so I really appreciated that they talked about that in this very ridiculous episode that's called Serve, CUNT, and Prevail. I know it's a little colorful, but I thought it was great. So go check that out. That's what I listened to this week. That's what I loved. I have just as an aside, I have 3 more episodes that I've recorded. I just need to edit and put out into the world. So stay tuned. If you like what you're hearing, drop a review, subscribe. I don't know, just for some external validation, which clearly I'm seeking if I'm creating a podcast. I'll look into that in therapy. And then if you're watching this, you can see that I have all these color swatches on the wall. I'm trying to figure out what's next for this space. If you have an opinion, let me know. But yeah, sorry for the work in progress look of the background. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Drop a review, reach out. I don't know. This has been fun so far. I hope you're having fun too. All right. Well, then I will catch you next week for the weekly podcast digest.